Hey, this is Sean with the Atlanta Tennis Podcast, powered by GoTennis. Check out our calendar of Metro Atlanta tennis events at letsgotennis.com. And if you're a fan of Bull Shark Sports, go to shop.letsgotennis.com and get yourself a hoodie or a hat. And also, we want to hear from you. We want to hear your story on the podcast. So if you have a story to share, go to letsgotennis.com/my story, and you might have your story featured on the Atlanta Tennis Podcast. Today, this is Youth Sports Talk with Coach Ben Hestley. Today's talk attempts to answer the question, what tennis balls do you play with? Ben, you ready to talk youth sports?
Well, let's get a rally going.
Oh, I like it. All right. Today's conversation asks the question, what tennis ball do you play with? So can we teach kids to be a multi-ball tennis player? Ben, what are we actually talking about here?
So we're talking about, just to give everybody like a quick crash course in the different balls. It's been called many things over the years. I like to call it the Rogie system. It's acronym red, orange, green, yellow. And that's typically the progression of balls. You start out playing, and we're talking about junior tennis, although you can still do this same progression with adult tennis. And you start out with red balls, then you move to orange, then you move to green, and then finally to yellow, which is essentially the regulation ball that we all know. And red balls, just quickly, red balls bounce 75% less than a regular tennis ball. Orange dot ball or orange ball is more at 50. All right, so you're thinking half the compression, so half the bounce, half the speed of what a regular ball would travel at. And then green ball a little closer to the regular ball or the yellow ball, and that's about 25% of the compression of a regular tennis ball. So those are just baseline numbers. Just obviously, as you get better at tennis, you start playing with a ball that starts you first start playing tennis. You start with a very slow ball, slow moving, low bouncing ball. So think little kids, much easier for them to get a rally going. And as you get better, you play with a ball that's moving faster and bouncing, consequently bouncing higher. So that's typically your crash course with the 4 different balls. And then a lot of programs they'll kind of segregate their programming or categorize their programming based on those balls. So they'll have like, this is my red ball program, this is my orange, and if you do well here's a category, or here's some criteria. And if you achieve this criteria, now you can move up to orange ball, and then to green ball, and then finally to yellow ball. And today I just kind of want to just plow into that a little bit and say that's honestly not, while it's a good progression, it's not absolutely necessary to, once I quote graduate from red and now I play with orange, and I'm totally done with red, right? And kids can play with all 4 balls as they progress, and there's different advantages to doing it this way.
It makes me think of years ago when I had access to clay courts, and other coaches and I would go out as adults, and we're tennis coaches. We all played in college. We're good players. And we would grab those red foam balls, the foam version, because I think that's a tennis ball you didn't even mention.
Yeah,
That
exactly.
also have that we would go and play on the clay courts and play in the service boxes, and we play mini tennis, and we played full speed. You could hit the ball hard, top spin, backspin, and we would get such a workout. And just to feel the swing and feel the ball, we would use those balls ourselves as a practice tool. So I wouldn't underestimate the ability to use different tennis balls in different settings. And I think you're right with the kids. Maybe one day we've got a kid that's looking to progress and move up. I heard a story recently. Parents said, hey, my kid just graduated from orange dot to green dot, and he was doing great at the orange dot and green dot. He just can't win a match, just can't get it right. Because I'll bet there was no transition between the two. He didn't practice,
Exactly
she,
right.
whoever it was, didn't practice with the next ball or go back to the other ones. Is that what we're talking about? Just being able to do all of it?
Absolutely. Like a couple things you mentioned transition. That's what it has to be, right? I mean, you don't go from okay, and that's the problem that we've set up is we a lot of times will base our training or our practice setting based on what the competition setting is. And so the competition tells us that once I get enough points or whatever to move to advance out of orange, and you talk to people at USJ, they'll even say this. We just want to get all these points, and if you get X number of points, I don't know what it is, X number of points, you're out of orange ball. And like, what do you mean out of orange ball? So I can't play orange balls ever again. So now you've taken a kid who's out of orange ball, and he or she's playing in green ball. And to your point, they were having some success, and now they're back to failing. Rather than we need a transition where they're still practicing with orange, they're playing orange competition, but they're practicing with green, right? And kind of getting a feel for what that looks like in their setting. And so the other thing is back to the foam balls. Yeah, I didn't even mention the foam balls. And originally, I remember when I started, whatever this 15 years, 20 years ago, coaching with low compression balls. And when quick start tennis first came out, it was this big divide with the pros that were doing it and for quick start and the pros that were against it. And so we all of us that were for quick start and were actively doing quick start at our clubs, we got called the baby ball coaches. Oh, they're coaching with those baby balls. Well, what's interesting is the baby balls, if you will, that we use with beginner players, it actually stemmed from what you were just mentioning about you guys as advanced players going out and playing with a foam ball. It was called the speed ball, and it came out back in I think the mid to late 90s by Dennis Vandermeer. Dunlop was the company that made the speed ball. And the speed ball was actually for exactly that. It was a foam ball that was to help advanced level players increase their racket head speed. We see a very, very similar thing that's just come out in recent months, a year or so in baseball with the smash factor ball. The smash factor is a hard foam ball that comes out, if you use a pitching machine, comes out of the machine just like a regular baseball. But because it's foam, you don't have that sting effect when you hit. Which a lot of kids, as they start playing higher levels and they're facing faster pitching, they'll actually slow their bat speed down because they know that impact is coming and that impact can hurt. And so the foam ball is the smash factor, very much like the speed ball back in the day, takes away that effect, takes away that hard impact when you make contact with a hard ball, allows you to get a lot more reps, a lot more game-like reps, ramp up your bat speed. Same the speed ball, you ramp up your racket head speed. And that's what Vandermeer was all about. And that's what he used the speed ball for. And then it became like, hey, this is cool. The rallies are longer, the ball moves slower. So now we can take that and also use it with beginners. That's really how it all started.
Yeah, and I think that's not just beginners. We picture beginners as kids, but even beginners as adults. If we're going to look at adults trying to rally, it's not easy. And if you can get closer to the net, just hit it over the net. Husband and wife go out. We talk about families played a lot of tennis during COVID, and then we lost them again because tennis is hard. You get those, you just go buy a can of yellow balls and some plastic rackets from Walmart. You can get out there with a whole family for less than $50. And you did it for a while, but then you didn't have a good experience because you didn't have good equipment. You didn't even have the right equipment. But if you'd bought a couple of those foam balls, you could play with the kids. You could kind of manipulate the ball. Those balls match well with the aluminum rackets because they don't feel as plasticky. And I don't think plasticky is a word, but they don't feel as weak. I say it feels like a wiffle ball bat when I'm using one of those aluminum rackets. But in this case, we're looking at the different balls and how and when to use them. If you want to back up, if you can rally with a red ball, you and your wife, I mean, we talk kids all the time, but just look at adults. You want to go out and get some exercise. I watch people at our tennis courts all the time here in my neighborhood, and they're just chasing the ball more than they're hitting it.
Yeah.
But if they just went out and bought the orange balls, instead of thinking, well, I don't want to buy the kids' balls, that's embarrassing. No, what's embarrassing is you're wasting your time chasing tennis balls. I mean, you're getting your exercise, sure, but you're not getting closer to being a tennis player. Where I think those lower compression balls would also help a lot of the adults, and we can use them in multiple ways.
Well, that's cardio tennis. I mean, that's why cardio tennis uses orange dot ball, sometimes red, and in some cases, very rare cases, green, but mostly it's all with the orange ball. That's the same thing. You get a lot more reps. The rallies are so much longer, and you're getting a lot more exercise. You're right. I mean, let's throw in what everybody's thinking right now is pickleball, right? That's why you play pickleball because it's super easy. It's ping pong on the ground, as I like to call it, right? but you're not moving a whole lot. It is interesting that the injuries are ramping up in pickleball, but that's for a different show. But yeah, what if you could go out with your wife or buddy and rally with orange balls, and you're on the tennis court space and you're moving a lot more. I mean, I would argue that you get a lot more exercise in playing pickleball, just because you're gonna have to run more, you're swinging through the ball more. It takes a lot of effort to swing through the ball. I used to have a guy who came to my cardio classes. Oddly enough, he had his cardio racket. It was his old like Edberg Pro Staff racket he had, and he had
Okay.
lead tape on it. I mean, the thing probably weighed like 1.5 pounds, but it was his workout. That's what he wanted. He's like, man, I want to get some swings in, and it's not going to hurt me because I'm hitting this very light, low compression ball, so I don't have the hard impact like a hard tennis ball. And so he's like that. He goes, I have to swing through to make it go anywhere. I got this heavy racket. I'm ramping up my. He's just he loved it. He called it his cardio racket, and a lot of people benefit from that. From what you just said, the rallies last longer. They have to swing through the ball. I tell people that come to cardio all the time, you have to hit through the ball. You can't dink the ball like in alpha doubles with a big racket, and you're just kind of tapping away. Like in cardio, man, you have to swing through. So it actually promotes proper swing technique just by the sheer nature of what you have to do to get that ball to go where you want it to go.
Yeah, and adults, kids alike, we can use the different balls in different game settings. We like to use the red balls for mini tennis with the kids, especially if we're working on scoring. So if we got such a complex concept as scoring, and we say, okay, you got to win 4 points to win the game. Okay, great. They won the game. They think it's over. I said, no, that's only one game. Now we got to play 6 more. Like we got to get to 6 total games. So you can teach them so many different things, but they don't have the whole court to deal with and all the lines. We grab the red balls and we play a little mini tennis inside one of the service boxes. Then you can grow a little bit, but even the adults can do that. And it doesn't matter necessarily that you're stuck. I think what you're trying to say is let's not pigeonhole anyone, whether it's a beginner adult or an 8 and under player. By the time they turn 9, sorry, can't use red ball anymore. Let's not pigeonhole anybody. Let's use them for whatever we can use them for. And then eventually, maybe even with the yellow balls, a little kid, see if you can bounce the ball on the racket. Feel the difference so you know what you're going to get into when you graduate into that next thing.
Yeah, no, totally. I mean, I think we use our industry, I'll say, has positioned these balls as competition levels, right? Or play levels, where they're just teaching tools. They're teaching tools. They're the same as cones and ladders and throwdown lines. They're teaching tools. Medicine balls, whatever else. They're teaching tools. Working on volleys today. We want to slow things down, get good volley technique. All right, we'll use red balls. Okay. We're working on taking the ball on the rise. See how well you do with a green dot ball, speed things up, see if you can still move inside the court and take that ball early because it's moving super fast, compared to an orange ball. So all those, or let them play with, the kids that press against it. What I found, rather than trying to sit there and convince mom or dad and kid that he should be playing or she should be playing with orange ball, let's say, I would just like, whatever, man, let them. Finally, it took me a while to get smart. I was like, all right, let's see them play on yellow ball. Let's go full court yellow ball. And the ball's bouncing over their head. And like you said, there's like a 2-ball rally. I'm like, is this okay? Now, what do you want to do? Oh, well, now let's have an orange ball rally and see how much better we do. Okay, ball's more in our strike zone. We're getting more hits on the ball. Rallies are lasting longer. We're actually able to play more real tennis at a beginner to intermediate level, and that you have to sort of convince them sometimes that way than just trying to always just verbally fight back against why they should be playing with whatever. But again, let's make multi-ball athletes, real good tennis players. You want to be a great tennis player? Be great with all 4 balls. Red, orange, green, yellow. Be great with all 4 balls. Okay? Don't be the best yellow ball player. Don't be the best red ball player. Be the best player with any type of ball, any type of court, any situation. And that's going to get you to be the best athlete you can be and the best tennis player that you can be.
I don't even have to ask if we answered the question, Ben, because there's your answer right there. This has been Youth Sports Talk with Coach Ben Hestley. Phenomenal ending. I love it, Ben. Thanks so much. We'll talk next week.
All right. Have a great week, everybody.